A warm welcome back to GlobeTrotting. Subscribe if you haven't already. Qantas played a significant role in the development of the Boeing 777, but never placed an order for the aircraft. Why did an airline so invested in a program never go ahead to order the plane? Was it the right decision, and what about the 777X? You're going to have to bear with me in terms of B-roll here, because I'm talking about an airline that never flew a specific aircraft, so finding something that can be deemed generic is quite difficult. So first of all, one of the reasons some remain confused about Qantas's decision not to order the 777 is its involvement in the project. See, during the 1990s, the American manufacturer relied heavily on several international airlines to help develop the 777. It was a core design group tasked with help creating this next-generation twin-engine efficient plane. From All Nippon Airways to American Airlines, British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Delta, Japan Airlines, namely the focus of today's proceeding, Qantas, and even United, these were your carriers tasked with the crucial role in the Working Together group, a wide-body initiative. By being part of this group, Qantas was allowed to put forward its preferred design elements, including cabin configurations and overall capacity requirements. Every airline that was part of this group, excluding Qantas, would go on to commit to the 777 in some capacity and operate their aircraft across their respective networks. Therefore, for Qantas to play a role in shaping the 777 but not order the plane was seen as peculiar. However, there were reasons for the Australian flag carrier behind their decision. Qantas never went to order the 777. Instead, it prioritised other commercial aircraft throughout the 1990s and the 2000s. The airline's most notable decision was its commitment to the world's largest passenger plane in the Airbus A380. This your ultra-high capacity jet, deemed groundbreaking for international routes, operated by the Australian flag carrier with strong levels of demand. For an airline based in Australia, very much aware of its geographical positioning related restrictions that it faces, former executives of the airline argued that the 777 ultimately proved not to be the most optimal solution for their long-haul operations. Instead of selecting what most would have been considered the perfect option, given them being involved in the design process, they opted for a combination of the 747 and A380, with the 747 certainly being the more critical pillar throughout the latter stages of the 90s and into the 2000s. It was also important for the airline to limit at the time the overall number of aircraft types within its operations, ensuring that complexity didn't become a problem as the years progressed, and you'd argue they were probably successful in relation to this, as this was a problem that many other airlines would come on to face by the time the global pandemic came around, the realization that there were just too many aircraft types in operation. Qantas would not go on to order the 777, an aircraft again they were essential in helping come to life. But when the American manufacturer began moving ahead with the new-gen 777X, a fresh opportunity presented itself. As Qantas began the early stages of planning for its Project Sunrise, an ambitious project aimed at launching 20-hour non-stop flights, Boeing put forward its 777X to rival the A350 series. Qantas considered the 777X doing its due diligence, and some argued that given the airline's already rich understanding of the program, it may very well for them be the optimal choice for the future. However, after internal analysis of specifications, it became apparent that the A350 was the favourite in the selection process. Moreover, when Airbus announced that they'd even go as far as modifying the high-capacity A350-1000 to make it a ULR, therefore enhancing its range, it became a no-brainer. Unfortunately for Boeing, while the product may have met Qantas's requirements, what they were after was not what the 777X had. Additionally, when considering the challenges on the manufacturer's end in getting the plane to launch, that became a struggle for Qantas to really commit to. It was an unfavourable set of circumstances. How could Qantas commit to the 777X with little to no understanding of when the plane was going to be in its hands based on recent histories? A lot of this is what analysts argue. Ultimately, was not selecting the 777 the right decision? Well, hindsight is a wonderful thing when answering these type of questions. And really, aircraft types such as the 747 and 767 have now been axed from the fleet. On several occasions, while awaiting the delivery of next-generation planes such as the 787, Qantas has made it very clear that it's faced capacity shortages, and in some cases, you'd argue the 777 would have been present in their fleet to fill the gap. However, suppose Qantas had followed through with the initial order of the 777, in that case there remains a high chance that those planes would have been nearing the end of their operational life, considering the program was studied more than 3 decades ago. Also, had the airline committed to the Boeing 777, what would that have meant at its very core for the A380? This remains a workhorse in its business, and although it was parked during the COVID-19 pandemic, it has been reactivated and continues to hold a place in the airline's fleet. Obviously, we would have likely seen more 777s flying in terms of units over the A380, just based on size and so forth, but would those 777s have been enough and done the job that Qantas is requiring across its international network? A commitment to the 787 has been extended recently, and this new gen aircraft is expected to continue operating for decades to come. As the A350 series arrives, Qantas will launch not only its ultra-long-haul flights, but will have a replacement lined up for the 380. Thereby, they will move ahead with the 787 and the A350 for future flying efforts. So, while on paper the 777 has been an absolute success for many airlines and Qantas played a role in its development, for several reasons it was deemed to not be the most optimal solution for when it mattered most, and that was when Qantas was looking to place a new aircraft order. And as for the 777X, it's a decision, all things considered, that makes much sense. The A350-1000 ULR just deemed the way more optimal aircraft for their operations at the time. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Your support is greatly appreciated. Please take care, do be safe, and I'll see you in a couple of days right back here on GlobeTrotting.